be back together in person after our initial meeting at Ramstein in April. And once again, we met with Ukraine's Minister of Defense, my good friend, Oleksiy Reznikov. Everyone here is acutely aware of the dangers that Ukraine faces as Russia renews its reckless assault on the Donbass. And Minister Reznikov and his team gave us important insights into the changing battle space and a clearer understanding of Ukraine's priority requirements as the war shifts. We also had some important discussions about how to fortify our midterm and long-term support for Ukraine through training and sustainment. I'm especially pleased that defense leaders from some 50 countries came together here today. It's a testament to the on-the-ground impact of this contact group that it continues to grow. And I'm glad that we were joined today at today's meeting by several new countries, including Ecuador and Georgia and Moldova. And that's a reminder of how Russia's unprovoked and indefensible invasion of Ukraine has horrified and galvanized the world. But it's also a sign of the global admiration for the heroism and resilience of the Ukrainian people. You can see that in the progress that we've made since this contact group's previous virtual meeting a few weeks ago. In May, the U.S. Congress approved $40 billion to provide additional security assistance, economic and humanitarian support for Ukraine. And on June 1st, President Biden authorized an additional $700 million to meet Ukraine's critical needs for today's fight. And that included HIMARS rocket systems with guided MLRS munitions. This package also included javelins, helicopters, counter-battery radars, and ammunition. And I'm especially pleased to be able to announce today that the United States will provide an additional $1 billion security assistance package for Ukraine. And that includes our 12th drawdown from DoD inventory since August of 2021. And it includes guided MLRS munitions, 18 more M777 howitzers, and the tactical vehicles to tow them, and 36,000 rounds of 155 millimeter ammunition. This package also includes $650 million in Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative funds, and that will help Ukraine defend itself with 2 additional Harpoon coastal defense systems and thousands of secure radios, and night vision devices, and thermal sights, and other optics. Now, our allies and partners have also risen to the moment. We heard some significant announcements this afternoon about new security assistance packages for Ukraine. And many countries are providing Ukraine with urgently needed systems and ammunition. Other friends have made new commitments to train Ukraine's forces and sustain its military systems. But there are too many countries to properly thank here. I'll just take a moment to highlight a few. I want to thank Germany, which announced today it will provide 3 multiple launch rocket systems and guided MLRS munitions to Ukraine. We're working shoulder to shoulder with both the UK and now Germany as we develop Ukraine's long-range fires capabilities. This effort also builds upon our transfer of HIMARS. Let me also thank Slovakia, which announced a significant donation of MI series helicopters and of urgently needed rocket ammunition. And we also discussed important new artillery donations from many countries, including Canada and Poland and the Netherlands. These are key investments in Ukraine's long-range fires capabilities, and they'll be crucial to Ukraine's efforts to repel Russia's assault in the Donbass. I'm very thankful to these countries and to all of the countries that are helping Ukraine to defend itself, even as the war shifts and Ukraine's most urgent needs continue to evolve. Since the contact group first came together nearly 3 months ago, we've built tremendous momentum for donations and delivery of military assistance. And after this afternoon's discussions, we're not just going to maintain that momentum, we're going to move even faster and push even harder. We'll deepen our coordination and cooperation, and we'll bolster Ukraine's armed forces to help them repel Russian aggression now and in the future. So we'll continue working closely and intensively together with this contact group, and we'll keep on strengthening our support for Ukraine's self-defense, and we'll continue to stand up for the rules-based international order that protects us all. Thank you, and I'll turn it over to General Milley.
Thanks, Secretary Austin, for your words and for your leadership in putting together this contact group. It is indeed making a significant difference, and it frankly wouldn't be happening without Secretary Austin. And I want to thank also, as Secretary Austin said, the around 50 countries who participated in this third iteration of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group. And I also want to thank Ukrainian's Deputy Chad, who attended Lieutenant General Moisuk to today's meeting. The collective efforts of this group have helped achieve undeniable effects on the battlefield against the Russians. And we collectively will continue to support Ukraine as they defend against the unprovoked war, the illegal war being waged by Russia on Ukrainian sovereign national territory. In the current phase of this conflict, the Ukrainians are fighting hard, tooth and nail, every day, inch by inch, yard by yard, kilometer by kilometer, against the Russian advance in the Donbass. The Ministers of Defense and the Chiefs of Defense who met today are committed to providing Ukrainians the means to halt Russian aggression and defend their sovereign territory. The world has a significant stake in the outcome of what happens in Ukraine. The so-called rules-based international order is at stake that has been in place since the end of World War II to prevent great power war and to prevent large powers from conquering smaller countries with military force. Ukraine is under threat. They are at war, and we will continue to support them. But the rules-based international order is also under threat due to the actions of Russia in the Ukraine. The international community is not allowing this unambiguous act of aggression by Russia to go unanswered. To do so, the risks to the world returning to an era when large, powerful countries can invade smaller countries at will. That is what the international community is up against. Since the initiation of hostilities in late February, the global community has responded in an unprecedented manner. The Ukrainian Security Assistance Program has been calculated, responsive, and relevant to Ukrainian defense requirements. Our close and ongoing relationship with Ukraine's military leaders has informed our process to provide a tailored, timely assistance based on Ukrainian needs. Leaders at multiple levels, including the U.S. European Command, led by General Walters, have maintained consistent contact with Ukrainian counterparts. Additionally, I have remained in active communication with the Ukrainian Chief of Staff, General Zaluzny, each week, several times a week, sometimes several times a day. At the onset of the Russian invasion, the global community took action in the form of security assistance to help Ukraine defend itself. This immediate assistance had exceptional impact on the battlefield. Russia halted and turned back their initial advances in the face of fierce Ukrainian resistance. As Russia now invades the Donbass region, which began this offensive on 16 April, some 60 days ago, we, along with our allies and partners, have provided dozens of 155mm howitzers and almost 500,000 rounds. By the end of this month, we will transfer HIMARS systems, ammunition, trained crews for operational use in the defense of Ukraine. We and other countries are building a platoon at a time in order to certify the Ukrainians to make sure that they can properly employ and maintain the system. And in a few weeks, the Ukrainians will have trained long-range rocket artillery in the fight. To date, we have trained 420 Ukrainians on the M777 howitzer, 300 Ukrainians on the self-propelled M109, 129 on the 113 armored personnel carrier, 100 on unmanned aerial systems, and 60, most recently graduating today, on the HIMARS. Additionally, the United States has provided over 6,500 Javelins and 20,000 other anti-armor systems. Collectively, the international community has provided almost 97,000 anti-tank systems, more anti-tank systems than there are tanks in the world. We have also provided over 1,500 Stingers, more than 700 Switchblade tactical unmanned aerial systems, 20 Mi-17s, and thousands of small arms, and hundreds of thousands of small arms ammunition. The speed that we have delivered security assistance is without comparison. From the time the requests are validated and authorized, it is only a matter of days until the requirement is sourced, shipped, in the hands of Ukrainians. In some cases, it may take a week, but most of the time, it's measured in days. While more work is required, we could not have achieved this progress without the active assistance from the countries who are present today. We gathered today both in the defense of Ukraine and really in the defense of the world. It is only through the preservation of the rules-based international order that we are going to continue to have a peaceful international system that everyone benefits from. As we move together, we will continue to coordinate with our allies and partners around the globe to help support the Ukrainians with the training and the tools they need to fight and maintain their country's defense. I look forward to your questions.
Peter Martin, Bloomberg.
Yeah, thank you very much. Secretary Austin, Ukraine has publicly asked for a long list of weapons, including 1,000 howitzers, 500 tanks, and 300 multiple launch rocket systems. You've repeatedly stressed that U.S. assistance needs to be driven by Ukraine's needs. And with that in mind, do you think that this latest package risks providing Ukraine with too little, too late? And then for Chairman Milley, at this point, do you see the consolidation of Russian control in eastern Ukraine as inevitable? Thank you.
Well, thanks for the question. You're right. We remain focused on Ukraine's needs, and we understand what those needs are because, as you heard the chairman say, he's in contact with his counterpart sometimes a couple of times a week. I talk to the Minister of Defense, Reznikov, routinely. And one of the key benefits of having this contact group is that we have the ability of bringing the Ukrainian leadership in. The Minister of Defense, the Vice Chief of Defense, and have them give us a laydown of the battlefield dynamics, and then talk again about what their current requirements are. And as you know, the battlefield is dynamic, needs will evolve over time, and they've identified those needs currently to be long-range fires capability, armor, and some mid-range anti-aircraft capability, and also howitzers, which is different from the HIMARS. And so we remain focused on what their needs are currently and also in the near term, looking out several weeks and months. Eventually, we'll want to work with our allies and partners to build a capability that to sustain themselves over time. But we really are focused on what the leadership believes that its current needs are in this fight. And I think we've done, the international community has done a pretty good job of providing that capability, but it's never enough. And so we're going to continue to work hard to move things, as much capability as we can, as fast as we can, and to ensure that Ukraine can be successful on the battlefield.
So on your question of the Donbass, but on the numbers just real quick. I'm not sure.
You've been listening to Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff brief reporters. The U.S. has announced an additional $1 billion in military aid. Austin says the U.S. and the international community remain focused on Ukraine's needs.
General Mark Milley says the U.S. will transfer systems and begin training Ukrainians on how to use them, some specific systems, He also detailed what weaponry the U.S. has sent to Ukraine, including almost 500,000 rounds of artillery. One of the complaints from Ukraine has been that they need long-range weapons to really take this fight to the Russians. And we heard there the officials speaking to that. We'll take a very short break here, but we've got a lot more news for you straight ahead. You're streaming CBS News, always on.
An original documentary from CBS reports.
It's gonna be big!
The metaverse, the virtual world that's become a cryptocurrency casino.
It's like buying property on Mars.